All right, this is episode 6 of Dad's Unscripted, and topic for today is quality time versus quantity of time. And so, I guess I'll just and of course this is Brad Poirier, your host, and Dino the Barber, host. And I thought about this topic from a previous episode. I feel like, we've heard about quantity time a lot. Get that the quality time. Get that quality time with your kids, and that's true. You definitely want to have quality. And I think nowadays the quality time is really like being present with your kid, like when you're with your kid, like actually being off of your phone or
exactly,
actually listen. Like, and so that's now how did that manifest itself? Before, I don't know, but we often hear about. You got to have quality time with your kids. I think the narrative around that is actually the quantity of time. I think the quantity of time brings out the quality of time.
That's true.
So that's my quotable quote for the day. The quality of time brings out the quality of time. And what I mean by that is I think when it comes to the quality time thing, it's like we're talking about having to carve out. That's what I think a lot of the confusion and a lot of the resistance comes from. Mm-hmm. Because when we think about quality time, it's like, all right, I know I can't be looking at my phone. I can't be working right now. I can't be doing this. I can't be eating where. So now you're thinking about having to cognizantly or consciously carve out 30 minutes of quality time with your kid or an hour or 2 hours or whatever it is. And the reality is you don't have to do that. Perhaps you might because, you want to be at the kid's game or something. But the thing is you don't have to do that. Like, you just have to just always be there.
Just be there.
Just always be there. Like, my favorite things to do with my kid is being on the road with him. Like when we're going from one place to another, we just talk constantly, or, it might be like, listen, like whenever there's like a song that comes on the radio and he gets all excited and he'll say, "Hey Dad, can you add that to my playlist?" I get so, cause like, I'm not influencing what music he likes. He's just listening to this and kind of going, "I like this music. I want to add," like he's got his own little playlist on my phone, that he wants to listen to. And so to me, that's like all. Now I don't plan for that. I don't plan for that quality of time. That's just taking him with you, taking your kid with you wherever you are. I don't remember that about my dad. A lot of times there'd be like these little errands, basically. That if you could think of any one sort of like takeaway, is take your kid like on every errand that you can, basically. Every errand that they can kind of tag along where you can kind of keep your head on a swivel and you can have a little attention to them and make sure that that they're safe. But every errand that you can take them on, just take them with you. Whether it be for the car ride experience or wherever they are, they're going to pick up these like little life lessons and stuff. The quantity of time brings out the quality of time. Like your child needs you around.
That's it. And unfortunately, it wasn't an option for me to say, well, I'm going to take them with me on a chore or not. I had to take, I had to take all three of mine, and go wherever it was I went. They had to go with me. And I was saying, before, I used to think that they was going to regret me or despise me as they got older because they had to grow up in the barbershop. I would take them to school and they would get off the bus, come to the barbershop, go pick them up from daycare, bring them back to the barbershop. And that happened for years. But what I realized is, like you said, that quantity of time that was spent with them, even though they was there, they were still under my presence. They were still under my direction, under my supervision.
Right.
They still, like you say, was there. I might not have been 100% just there with them, but I was there with them.
Right.
And that, as of today, I get it back from my kids of understanding, that I thank you for doing that. It wasn't no burden on us. Look how, we know everybody. Everybody was coming through the barbershop. And it helped me identify who some people are. They be like, "Yeah, you remember so-and-so when we was little and we was in the barbershop, he used to come in with his mom. That's his mom." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So again, it's even till today, that quantity of that time, it has a quality relationship with me and my kids now.
That's right.
Because of that. And again, I'm thankful. I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't in the position to pick and choose who I wanted to take with me or not. Like I said, they had to go. All of them had to go with me.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm thankful for it. I tell you that. Now I am. I'm very thankful, man.
And I would say, for people that are, sort of, because I would imagine that there's a lot of people struggling, kind of going, geez, I don't have enough quality time with my kids. And the fact of the matter, again, just giving yourself some grace, just letting yourself off the hook a little bit sometimes, probably are actually giving your kids probably a lot more quality time than you think. It's not carved out for it, Yeah. And that's really the message that I'm really trying to send here is that if you want to increase the quality of time is just whenever you're doing something, just whenever you're about to do anything, if you can have your kid, attached to your hip doing that, then attach them to your hip,
do it.
Just whatever it is. Like even if it's now, I can see where it's a challenge because especially nowadays as kids are getting older, that perhaps they want to play more video games or they just are interested in other things. Mm-hmm. So I think some of this really starts at the younger age, before they really start getting into electronic stuff. But even if I would, because my kid's 7 now, where he's turning 7, and so he don't really play video. I mean, he plays some games on an iPad, but he's not glued to it, Yeah. So I will say I have an easier time attaching him to my hip whenever I need or want. But I guess if you have a teenager and you're sort of at this stage listening, you're kind of well, I have a teenager and all he wants to do is play Minecraft or something. It's I feel like there are probably still ways, and I'm not walking in that person's shoes, but I feel like there are probably still ways to, or even, okay, here's an idea. Just sit down and watch Minecraft. Watch them play Minecraft. Just sit down. You don't have to, don't even say anything. Don't make awkward dad jokes about what is this, what is that. Yeah. Just sit down and watch. And, be off your phone. Just be watching. Oh, that was neat. Oh, that's cool. What is that? Just
ask questions. What is
just
that?
Ask questions.
Why does he do that? Or, like I say, let them tell you. Mm-hmm. And I figured that out through, it wasn't my child, but my nephew, my brother's son. And for years, like I said, I've been cutting their hair since they was babies. And he just, he's turned 18. He just graduated this year. But it was always times when he would come to the barbershop, and I always wanted to try to, have conversation with him. And everything was always short. Everything I asked him, it was always short. Mm-hmm. And it got to a point just a couple years ago, and I asked his dad, yo, what James got? What type of game y'all playing, man? Mm-hmm. What game? Because my brother, he likes games and stuff. And he was telling me, yeah, we just got this new Oculus thing, you put on your eyes and all. And he was talking about that, and he was telling about the different games they got. So I said, okay. So when nephew came to the shop next time, I hit him with, what's up, nephew? How you doing? And it was always, no, I'm good, Mm-hmm. But then I started asking, so what you playing, man? What you been playing lately? What games you playing? Yep. He started talking about it. Then I started asking him about the Oculus and started asking him about the different type of games and the 3D, how it make you feel. Oh, man, he opened up and he went in. The whole haircut, he talked about the game. And again, just saying all that to say, some parents, that's the way you might need to connect with your kids. Yeah. That's the way you might need to connect. Even if you don't like games or you don't play games, do some research about the game that I'm pretty sure you're probably paying for the game. Mm-hmm. Right. Do some research on the video games that you see that they're playing often just to be able to have some kind of questions to ask. Right. And when you ask those questions, again, you get answers back from the kids that would be more direct to open up, like I said, open up room for more conversations. Mm-hmm. And again, man, it's things like that, like you said, that we have to do to be able to get across that bridge, And that's what build up, like you say, that's what make that quantity a quality, time.
Right. That's exactly it. And so I think ultimately, again, just kind of going back, I think when they're younger, it's a little bit easier for you to kind of control the quantity or what the activity is of that quantity. Mm-hmm. But as they're getting older and they're just not interested, like, hey, can you walk to the mailbox with me, and come get the mail or whatever. They're not interested in that stuff anymore because they got other interests they're doing. Again, I'm not in this position, but I would like to think that 10 years from now when my kid's a full-grown teenager who's probably going to be taller than I am, whatever he's interested in, I'd like to think that I would probably just force myself to be interested in whatever they're interested in, I guess is kind of the point. And that will allow me to just continue spending the amount of time that's necessary. And what the amount of time is basically just as much as you can give, you know?
So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
So what happens when, again, as he's 7 now, and you have this, expectations of, like you said, when he get to that 16, 17-year-old, and again, the time that you want to put in, that you're expecting to put in, and the relationship you have, and it don't go quite that way. It's more so when he hit that 14 to 15, he don't want to be with you. He don't, you waiting, you going to the door, you waiting for him to be like, Dad, can I go with you? Dad, you want me to? And he's not asking those questions no more. He sit there and he act like you don't even exist. How do you handle that? Would your feelings be hurt? Would you?
Yeah.
How would you deal with that?
Well, I can give you a really easy answer. In the real world, I don't know how that actually gets answered, or how I will answer it, 10 years from now. But knowing that, here's how I approach it: is that, let's just say, if we're going to put a time into it, let's just say at 5 to 10 years old, you're 100%. Ultimately, here's the short answer to that: is your 100% is going to change. Like what your 100% level looks like is going to change over the years. So right now, my 100% is kind of controllable.
Yeah.
I have a pretty good measure of control over what my 100% looks like with him.
Yep.
Because he kind of he needs his parents all the time, right? As he gets more independent, I just have to just realize that 100% is just a smaller container of 100%, basically. And so as he gets older, and that perhaps is what messes people up, is that you sort of like get into that routine, right? And so now it's like things have changed. And that's kind of what, like when people become empty nesters, what kind of gets them going a little bit is because now like that time that they would spend with their kids is now voided. And so that 100% really went to basically zero in terms of a day-to-day. So that's kind of the way I approach that and look at that question is your 100% bucket size just changes buckets. It goes from a XL cup to a large cup, to a medium cup, to a small cup.
Yeah.
But as long as you're always filling that cup to 100%,
doing your part,
then you're just doing your part.
And
that's the way that I would look at it.
And that's real, because I asked that question because that's how it was. I had a client years ago, and he always told me, he said, man, you got to be careful, man. He said, especially with girls. He said, you got to be careful. He said, once they hit that age of, that 13, 14-year-old, he said, you're going to lose them, man. He said, I don't care how much love you got, how much they love their daddy, how much they want to be up under you. And that's what it was. And when he said it kind of scared the hell out of me, because my baby girl was 9 months old when I gained custody of her.
Yeah.
And so she was like the one that was like closest, to me at the time. But that I couldn't fathom, okay, she's going to be acting out at 14, 12,
Right.
And just so happened it played out that way. Each one of them, I lost them from that 13 years old up to 18 years old. I lost each one of them, man, except my baby girl. Except the baby girl, and she's 18 now. And she was the only one that I actually, I didn't lose, but I lost them all because it was like, I asked, when I was going places, doing things, they're like, no, I don't want to go.
Yeah.
And before, they always wanted to go.
Right.
And, well, I'm going to come to your game. You don't really have to if you don't want to, but before when they were younger, Dad, you coming to my game.
Wow.
And when they see your face out there and they get just as happy and you just as happy, but then when you say, you know what, I'm still going to go to the game. Even though they don't want me to come to the game, I'm going. And then when you go and they with their friends and they look at you and they act like you're not even there, that hurt, man.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That hurts, bro.
Yeah.
Because you have that anticipation that,
like, I'm showing up.
Yeah, they're going to run up to me. They're going to be like, Dad, can you buy me this? Or can you give me some money for concessions and all? And that don't happen. They got their group of girlfriends with them. They look back and I'm like, hey, yo. And they're like, hey, Dad. They see, and then they sheet off, and you sitting in the stands.
So
by
what did your
yourself, like,
100% look like then? You know, obviously you were just showing up because that's what you felt like you need to do. But what did your 100% of quantity time look like then to get the quality?
It was still, like I say, my intention was still at 100%. It was still at 100%. It's just that on their side, it wasn't there.
Yeah.
It wasn't there no more. But I still, no matter what, I still showed up. I still,
and they remember
loved
that
them.
now.
Yeah, and now
they remember it. Right.
They
right.
remember it clearly now. And again,
that's what's the important part then.
17, 18, they said, when my man told me, he said, they'll come back 17, 18 because now it's time for them to be independent.
Right.
It's time for them to, start growing and getting on. So they're going to need you.
Yeah.
So they're going to come back. And lo and behold, they all back. And I'm thankful. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I'm thankful. I didn't get too, butthurt going on, through all of that time. It was just weird. Because like you said, when you with them all the time and you're spending that time with them, and then they get to that point where, they don't want to be with you like that. They don't want you. And it wasn't no micromanaging. I wasn't, all on top and just giving them freedom. But it bothers you as a parent. So you just got to know how to figure that thing out, man. Right. Have them conversations and letting them know. And I didn't know how to have them conversations. Like I say, I would kind of take it personal.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? I was really taking that personal. But it's like now you tell that individual like you could be more aware of it to, talk to, saying little man, to let him know, look, when you ever feel like, you don't want me around, man, just let me know. You know what I'm saying?
Tells me.
Don't he tell you straight up right now. At 7 years old, he tell you. But that's good. Because that's why I said these kids later on, they going to be speaking their mind, yo. They're not going to be scared to speak their mind.
I have, just like we were talking about off the break, I have good hopes for this, basically my kid's generation and then the generation after his. I feel like, we were talking about earlier, I feel like, I'll steal your quote, is I feel like we're kind of planting these seeds of mental truth and, they'll come to fruition probably a generation after next, basically. It'll just keep getting better. And what I mean by getting better is we were talking about in a previous episode about knowing better, doing better, generational routines, and sort of generational stigmas, and just, I feel like men are getting better at least just being aware.
They are, man.
Of mental health and being aware that the way we feel is normal. Yeah. And that, we can do things to sort of better ourselves so that way we don't feel low or anxious or whatever is kind of plaguing you. And so I feel like as the more we talk about this, each generation is just going to get a little bit better and a little bit better until basically that S curve is kind of moving up, and that number of that suicide rate goes down. And it's not just about suicide, but it's also about just just being a better version of a dad.
That's self-care.
Just about that self-care.
That's self-care.
Just not being so stressed or learning or knowing how to kind of deal with that stress. It's a lot of those things. And so I'm hopeful. It feels like it's getting better, and it's just going to keep getting better. It's just going to take some generations. So it might be like 50 years from now by the time, this is really like not a thing of the past, but it's like it's commonplace to check on your friends, to check on yourself, to just be in a better position.
And we're identifying these things right now. I say from the point of just from the barber's standpoint, I realized what barbers was, 20 years ago, and I realized how clients were 20 years ago. And 15 to 20 years ago, you could not get a man to lay back in your chair and another man massage their face to give them a facial in the barbershop. That it just wasn't happening. To get a shave was one thing, but to sit back and let a man get a facial or to be able to give a beard therapy treatment to a man as a man, it wasn't happening. But now, in the last 4 years, men's care has jumped up 85%.
Wow.
In the barbering industry.
And that's an external care that we're really talking about.
Because
now.
again, but it's self-care. You see what I'm saying? Because you got more men now just understanding they taking that time for themselves to, if it is get the therapy treatment of beard therapy or facials.
Right.
They're taking that time for self to be okay, or take that time just, okay, this is my relaxing moment. They look forward to those moments.
Right.
We weren't doing that 20 years ago. It was always in go mode.
Right.
You know, we was always go mode. It wasn't going to the spas and getting your feet done. Wasn't no man doing that, you know, years ago.
Right.
But now you go in the shop and in the, you know, nail spa places, and sometimes I see 3 or 4 men in there.
Yeah.
And I remember going into Walmart when they had it years ago.
Yeah.
And I went in there with my wife. And I remember people walking by laughing at me. You know what I'm saying? They was peeping and they was laughing at me like I was an alien sitting in there or something.
Right.
So like I say, now it's more common. So again, like I said, we're witnessing these things change as of now. So like you said, in the future, our great-greats or great-grands,
right,
those are going to be the ones that's going to make it better for, like I say, dads. I think dads they're going to be better. They're going to be okay.
Definitely gonna be a lot better. And I'm happy to be the agent of change, or one of the agents of change.
Yeah,
I should say.
Likewise.
All right, my man. I appreciate it as always.
Man.
That does it for episode 6. So as always, if you're listening, go ahead and give us a follow on social at Dads Unscripted. If you're watching, go ahead and listen to us on iTunes, and please give us a review. The more reviews we get on iTunes and Spotify, the more this gets pushed out to more dads. So if you're a dad and you benefited from this, a review is a great way to basically get this to other dads, or just share it. Just send it to your friends or something like that. That'd be cool too.
That'd be helpful.
That'd be helpful. All right. Peace. Have a good day.
Peace out.